Rule number 1, never start a new business, always buy an existing business. Rule number 2, if you have a unique business idea, then start a new business. The first rule is a bold statement and highly controversial, as most entrepreneurs' default position is to start their own business. This is largely based on the perception that it is cheaper and has a greater element of freedom, which will allow you to shape the business according to your own culture and thinking. This is opposed to buying an existing business, which usually requires a large amount of money upfront and therefore makes it unaffordable for most people. But is this really the case? I would argue that in fact the opposite can be true. It is certainly much easier to secure finance to purchase an existing business than it is to raise finance for a startup. Startup businesses have no track record, no cash flow, no clients, and high failure rates, which is why the banks are reluctant to finance them. On the other hand, banks are quite keen to loan money for the purchase of an existing business, as there is a proven business model, existing clients, financial records, and cash flow, making it a low risk and therefore viable option for the banks to finance. One thing you must remember about banks is that they are in the business of lending money, and what's more is their staff are under pressure to meet their loan targets. So they are actively looking to secure deals. So if you meet their criteria, the loan should be approved. A seasoned entrepreneur will investigate multiple companies and be comfortable to walk away from deals that don't match their criteria. The aim is to negotiate a purchase of a business without having to use your own money, as the bank's loan should cover the purchase price and the cash flow should cover the repayments. This is clearly an ideal and completely possible scenario and makes buying an existing business much cheaper than starting your own, as you are not spending your own money. The existing business should be in positive cash flow from day one, while the startup business may only break even many months from now, while continuously draining savings until the break-even point is reached. In this scenario, the startup proves to be the more expensive and riskier option. Now, there are many ways to structure a deal when buying a business. For example, you could stagger the payments or only buy the assets, or you could buy the shares of the company. But remember, this will include the liability, which is why there are stories of entrepreneurs who have bought businesses for just R1. The terms of the deal is highly dependent on the seller's motivation, which could be anything from maximizing the return, death or divorce, or offloading a distressed company. Each case is unique and there are many lessons to be learned. Another huge benefit of buying an existing business is the ability for you to work on the business instead of in the business. Let me explain. When you start a new business, you inevitably find yourself stuck full-time in the day-to-day operations of the business, as you are the one pushing the business forward by implementing new systems, marketing, and training staff. You will seldom find the time to look up from the daily operations to focus on strategy and efficiencies, as you don't have the time nor the energy. The opposite can be true with an existing business, since it was already operating without your involvement before you bought it. This creates an ideal opportunity to structure the business in such a way that it can continue to operate without you being directly involved in the daily operations. You may need to employ a manager to replace the previous owner, assuming they were working in the business. But by setting up the structure in such a way that you are outside the daily operations, you are setting yourself up for success, as this is the blueprint for owning more than one business. You may find yourself working in the business from time to time, especially if there's a crisis to resolve. But once that has been taken care of, your default position reverts back to working on the business. This is the formula used by multiple business owners, and a prime example would be Elon Musk. My final concern about starting your own business is the fact that it is hard to raise money for startups. So many entrepreneurs use whatever savings they have and then loan additional money from friends and family or approach equity investors. There are two important points here. The first is don't borrow money from friends and family unless you're prepared to lose the relationship with them. In my opinion, it's just not worth it. The second point is don't give away equity in order to raise money. Rather walk away from the deal. It is just not good business practice, as once the loan is repaid, the investor continues to reap the benefit into perpetuity. Many people may ignore these two principles as circumstances may leave you with no choice. I know I have been there. In fact, if I look back on my entrepreneurial journey, I've not always applied the rules mentioned in this video. For starters, I've only been involved in startup businesses. Over the past 35 years, I've started 8 businesses. 3 of them I've sold, 2 closed down, and the remaining 3 are fortunately still going strong. So if you ask me with the benefit of hindsight, would I do anything differently? The answer is yes. I will upskill myself in the art of buying businesses and then apply rule number 1. I've left bullet points of the list of advantages and disadvantages of starting a new business versus buying an existing business in the description below. Please leave me your thoughts in the comments as I'm keen to learn. Now, I hope you found this video informative. So as always, remember, we are here to help.